Hello then, thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA09925339. Our top stories this hour. NPP vows to suspend protesting members who also rained curses on party executive for disqualifying their favorite candidates. We'll hear from one of the groups as the party's general secretary rolls out a list for the primaries set for later this month and also describes the action of the protesters as crass. Ghana lives dangerously as violation of protocols among some residents saw. We bring you a wrap of check services after a long break as medical professionals begin to feel the pinch. And today on Frontline, we go to the heart of the crisis. Internal care unit of COVID-19 treatment centers. We also hear from a doctor feeling the pressure and an infected person looking to recover. Those are top stories this hour. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can catch us there. You can join us with your thoughts and opinions on 054-010-9009. My name is Gifty Andwapia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Well, this afternoon, there's anger among supporters of the NPP in the Kwabre constituency of the Ashanti region following an order by the party's general secretary to the constituency executive there to track and suspend all party supporters who staged protests against disqualification of a candidate in its upcoming primaries.
Station executive, so I chairman, so I organizer, so I want him, Nana, my friend Musano Mami. Yeah, the Asunjani, yeah, the Pento, yeah, the Nimsa 2020.
Today, the supporters staged a protest, invoked curses and locked up the party offices there to demand the reinstatement of Oseipoku, the sole contender against the incumbent Francisca Oteng Mensah. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more of that report.
The reason for our displeasure today is all about the pending promise that the party is organizing in order to mobilize forces for the 2020 election. Kwabre has been an outstanding constituency when it comes to election and when it comes to electing MPP into power. Our last election vote was phenomenal, and we don't want our leaders, being it constituency leaders, regional leaders, or national leaders, to do anything that will transpire the peaceful atmosphere we have in Kwabre MPP. All what we are asking for is delegates knows what is good for the people of Kwabre. Yes. They should allow for a contest for the delegates to choose their preferred candidate for the constituency. So that we all can mobilize a peaceful force and rally behind whoever the delegates will present to us for the 2020 election. Our victory 2024, which is going to be a history within the 1992 Republic Constitution, will depend on the outcome of the 2020 election. And as a party, as a member of the party, who love the party and the president that much, doesn't want our leaders to do anything which will either anger or whatever to bring divided fronts in order not to amass the necessary vote that we want. So please again, our leaders, we are here for peace. We are here for harmony. We are here for justice. And we are here for equity.
Justice should prevail.
Let there be election in Kwabre. Actually, we are just a few of our large number. We are mounting over 10,000 people. They sent us here to do this. From here, we will go and give them the report. And should the party fail, I know the leadership of this group, Kwabre Youth Movement, Concerned Youth of Kwabre, Concerned Delegate of Kwabre, and Kwabre Development Movement will sit down and decide on the next move forward.
mpanyimfo ne edi agro bi a yɛbɔ ne so efiri constituency regional national ɔno post nsɛm a ɛbobɔ ba no obi bia onim hu bibia nana mofra no na mumusa no obi biara a wakɔhyɛ dɛm agye adamudeɛ sɛ wɔyɛ deɛ wɔyɛ no nana momfrɛ no na mumusa no afei yɛ party office no yɛatom ɛfiri na ɛkorɔ ɛnkɔsi sɛ yɛbɛhu sɛ contest yɛkɔ so no deɛ ɔbɛbiabia nana momfrɛ no na mumusa no deɛ wɔ sɛ wɔn deɛ ɔyɛ bɛrima anaasɛ ɔyɛ ɔbaa na ɔbɛba party office asɛ wɔbɛbie no ayɛ mu adwuma ɛwɔ aberɛ a ɛdi ɛma yɛ sɛ yɛto aba wɔ kɔberɛ nana momfrɛ no na mo ne ne nkasa obi bia onim hu bibia nana mumusa no ma me so ɔyɛ police station executive so ɔyɛ chairman so ɔyɛ organizer so ɔwɔ he nana momfrɛ no musa no ma me yɛde asomdwue ne yɛpɛ yɛmpɛ ntɔkwa yɛnim sɛ 2020 wode bɛdom mpp mmom no deɛ bɛyɛ bia ɛbɛma kɔ abere yɛbɔ so akɔ fam deɛ nana mompa nwuma yɛ deɛ bɛma asomdwue aba ɛne sɛ yɛbɛto aba na obi akyerɛ no adwen ɔmudi abrɛ yɛ deɛ ɔse wɔn deɛ ɔnte aseɛ bia ne kɔnkɔmmɔ so
All right, so those were some of the protesters. Their actions seem to have caught the attention of the General Secretary of the governing NPP. Well, he decided to do what some people may describe as calling a spade a spade.
The conduct of some members claiming to be invoking cases on the party leadership, and in particular on members of the National Executive Committee, on allegations that their preferred candidate have been disqualified by NEC from contesting in the primaries. We are completely appalled by such gross misconduct. Accordingly, the party is instructing the respective constituencies or constituency executives in the constituencies where these unfortunate incidents happened to immediately suspend all those involved in this awkward behavior whilst instituting appropriate disciplinary actions against them in line with Article 3 and 4 of the party's constitution. And this one we are going to enforce to the latter, because party leadership go into a meeting, National Executive, National Council, that is made up of almost everybody that matters in this party. Through a lot of deliberations, we take decisions. We've not even announced the decisions. Then people who think that they are more MP people than all of us will resort to such behavior. That is almost alien to our politics. And this is something that the New Patriotic Party is not going to countenance at all. At all. These are candidates that are active, loyal members of our party. Before we even come to the list, there are a lot of them that have come to us for discussions. There are a lot of them that they think that they are not being cleared or recommended by the National Executive Committee or the National Council because of one allegation or the other. There are a lot of them that they themselves have agreed to graciously withdraw from the primaries. Then you, as an ordinary supporter, not knowing what discussion may have gone on, will rather be raining curses on innocent people. I think that this is something that we are not going to countenance. We will make sure that rules and regulations, particularly our disciplinary measures, are instituted to instill discipline in our party. It cannot be said that a noble party with rich tradition, like the New Patriotic Party, will get some members of our party exhibiting such crass and crude behavior against their own party.
Crude behavior. Later on the show, we'll be having a conversation. We'll talk to a political analyst. We'll talk to a political communication analyst to find out what he makes of these words and the description of these supporters as such. We also want to speak to the supporters who say they won't have any of this. We'll be talking to their leader who will join us via Zoom. We also want to talk to the incumbent and Mr. Osei-Poku himself here on The Pulse when I return from this break. Welcome back to the show. I'd love to hear from you. If you live in Kwabre East, let me know what you think, where these issues are coming from. If you're passionate, of course, about your party, the NPP, or if you were even part of those who rained curses on the party, let me hear from you. Join us with your comment on 0540109009. Like I said, we're hoping to be joined shortly by the incumbent, both the incumbent and the disqualified candidate, Osei-Poku and Francisca Otem-Mensah, the Honorable Member of Parliament for the area at the moment. Right now, let's speak to Bismarck. Bismarck Japan, I believe, is a leader of the movement, the Kwabre Youth Movement. Bismarck, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
So you are the leader of the Kwabre Youth Movement, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Very well. So you are, I believe, the person I'm seeing in the video at the moment, pouring the libation and raining curses at the party's office.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, this afternoon, we've heard from the party's General Secretary. He's actually asking the constituency executives to look for people like you who rain curses on the party to discipline you. Part of that discipline is suspension. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I also listened to him, but it's rather unfortunate. Now, what has caused all these things? That's what one should ask. And is it only about Kwabre? The second question one should ask. And if it is not only about Kwabre, then why now? We are now seen to be a rebel group within our noble home. But that's not the case. Because once we believe in the principle of the rule of law and the people majority representative, I think NPP as a party is now swerving away from this principle, which has caused many youth of my like to descend heavily on party leadership. Now, as a one person or as a group, we cannot battle the bigger party. And I believe the bigger party will also call us to hear our side of the story before any other measures will be taken to punish us. So as we are ready, waiting for the party leadership. When they call us, we will go to them and listen to what they have.
What it means is that the constituency executives have not reached out to you, Bismarck?
No, we've heard nothing from the constituency executives since Saturday.
Okay. The party has structures within which things work. If you have concerns, did you exhaust those concerns within the party structures before you went to the party's office to pour libation?
It's unfortunate. We did all what we could, but our immediate party leaders were not ready to listen to us.
If you say you did all that you could, what exactly did you do?
Most of our letters, most of our petitions were not even replied.
Okay. All right. So you sent letters and petitions to the party leadership and you did not get any response to that?
Yes, please.
Have you spoken to the candidate you're supporting, Mr. Osei-Poku himself?
Let me make this correction. Among the two candidates who were able to file their nomination form in Kwabri East are all party people. Kwabri Youth Movement do not support a particular candidate, but we support the rule of law and the principle of allowing party people within the constituency to choose their respective leader. It's rather unfortunate we had only two people. There are other constituencies who have more than two people or two candidates. And in our case, everybody can conclude that, yes, whilst we are against the unopposed agenda, then definitely we are in support of lawyer Antonio Osei-Poku. But we, Kwabri Youth Movement, we say Kwabri now, we Kwabri Development Movement, is, and I say it again, is not in support of any single individual. But we wanted a serene atmosphere within our constituency for the 2020 election.
Okay, you have an incumbent member of parliament who has been able to secure the seat for Kwabri East, and that person is, in fact, she was hailed at the time she was elected in 2016 as one of the youngest people to get into parliament, in the person of Francisca Otem-Mensah. Is the work she has done not good enough for you, so that when the party says let's allow people to go unopposed, you oppose that decision?
I thank you for this very, very question. But it is not up to me to decide on this. I heard you in your introduction calling on the people of Kwabri to send their comments on the decision of the party so far. And I know at the end of your program, you will hear comments which will in other ways put a judgmental decision on the performance of our MP. As I said earlier on, we don't hate or like any individual, but we wanted a smooth atmosphere going forward 2020 election.
Wouldn't you say if you...
our MP,
okay, go ahead.
The performance of our MP will be judged in a respective manner. Somebody will see it differently from how I will see it. To me, I would say the MP has done well, but she could have done more than she has done. She could have done more than she has done. But on average, I will give my MP 52%. Someone will also share a different view from mine, where the person may give her higher or lower than the marks I have given her. So it is a respective thing. And I pray the people of Kwabri will bring their comments for people watching your program to also know the direct or the real performance of my MP.
I see. It sounds to me like you don't want to maintain your MP, because if you did, a smooth and serene atmosphere for election 2020 would have been the one that the party is proposing, which is to allow people to go unopposed, because then it's agreed that you like the work that she has done. You don't seem to.
I like my MP very, very much, and she knows I like her very, very much. The issue is the agenda of disqualification has triggered so many impasses in my constituency. I will be very grateful if you can send your reporters to go down to the constituency and ask the people how this agenda of disqualification has affected the atmospheric conditions in my constituency. People have even been accusing party leadership either wrongly or correctly. Actually, I don't have any evidence to their accusation. But a whole lot of people have been accusing party leadership. And this sent a strong signal that going forward to 2020 election, the unity we had in 2016 for that huge sum of votes will not be.
Are you saying that
was
because
my
of what is
problem.
happening in the party right now, you foresee that the party will lose votes in the area?
Yeah, the
I
party
see.
will lose votes, but we all pray and we all join hands to work harder.
All right.
So that if not anything, if we cannot increase, we will maintain our 771,000 votes that we had in 2016.
Very well. I'll say a very big thanks to you. Well, as you have indicated, the party executives have not reached out to you yet. You're waiting to hear from them. And you are not happy about the call for suspension. You believe that the rule of law will apply.
Sure, please.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I've been speaking to Bismarck Japan. Bismarck Japan is the leader of a group calling itself the Kwabre Youth Movement. They say they are against imposition of candidates, if you like. I have the incumbent member of parliament for the area, Francisca Oting-Mensah. Madam Oting-Mensah, thank you for your time this afternoon and being here on the show. Hello, Francisca.
Hello.
Right. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon. What do you make of all that's happening in your constituency?
And thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me extend a greeting to everyone listening, most especially to Kwabre indigents. It's rather unfortunate that this is happening in a very peaceful constituency, which is Kwabre East. Obviously, in a democratic country as we are in, you wouldn't get everybody towing the same line as you think. You definitely have people who will oppose you. Some will be genuine, others may not. And so I would say it is part of our system, and it's good that it's in. Other than that, I think we should rather look at the manner in which the whole thing, came about. That is where
when you say the manner through which the whole thing came about, exactly what do you mean, ma'am?
Well, I believe, like you spoke to Mr. Japon, who obviously he's not a member of the constituency, if I should put it that way. He has his views, and he has other young people who equally share the same view as he does. It's unfortunate that as and energetic as they are, the party has structured several means in which, if you have some issues, how you can address it. But for them to have used this particular means to address their views, I believe it is rather unfortunate.
The party is calling on the constituency executives to look out for these people who have rained curses on the party, to punish them, to apply disciplinary measures. The General Secretary described their behavior as crude and crass. Do you feel that those are appropriate words to use, and that's a way to get people on board in these times for you?
Well, I believe the party has rules. The party has rules. The rules that has brought all of us this far. I definitely benefited from the same rules of the party that some people do not believe in now. And I believe he, as the Japan, also has also benefited from this same party rules that he, now is doubting whether indeed they are rules. I believe there could have been proper means in how do you call it, coming out with their grievances, rather than doing it in this angle. If you look at what they did, including closing the party office, must you do that? So if you want to express your view, you have to lock a party office and invoke cases before you can express your view? There are several means of doing that. You could equally engage the media. There are others who are doing press conferences and all that, doing all this. But it doesn't mean that what you're saying cannot be heard. It can be heard. But then it would have made their issue more genuine if they hadn't even gone to this extent. It would have made people even pay more attention to what they want to say, rather than coming out with all the surrounding dramas. Then you spoil the whole thing that you intend to do. So I believe the General Secretary meant that the rules of the party should be applied. And I believe in anything, there should be discipline. If there's no discipline, there will be so much chaos in this world.
Ms. Mensah, why should people believe that there isn't a grand plan to give you undue advantage over other people who want to contest? This is a question that's on the minds of people like Mr. Bismarck Japan that I spoke to.
Yes, I'm grateful for this question. And like when I was speaking earlier on, I stated that obviously in a democratic country like we are, you can't find all of us believing in one thing. That is why we have several party systems, where somebody would want to be NCP, somebody would want to be NDP, and someone who would even want to go further be PPP or CPP, or even go further to other political parties. We can't all share the same view. People will have different varied views which may be genuine to them. And so I believe to some people, they thought maybe there should have been a contest. But then looking at the contest, I am not sure I would want to disrupt the whole system, especially looking at the fact that I got one person who came up to contest. But then the party also has put up some due process that every aspirant has to go through. So I believe the question is, what was it that actually wasn't right that made this person be disqualified or was not allowed to contest? I think that question will be left for NEC to answer, because I wasn't part of NEC and I wasn't part of his vetting as well. So I can't give my details as to what actually caused for that. But definitely there should be a reason. And I think that is what some of our young people should be asking as to what is actually calling for this. And I believe if we are able to get a reasoning, it will help us to understand as to what actually happened that made him disqualified.
Do you believe that the party failed? It failed the people by not being able to communicate what happened, like you're saying, because then if it had, perhaps this wouldn't have happened.
I think this particular question the best people to answer would be maybe those aspirants that feel they were.
You are the member of parliament. You are the member of parliament.
Know whether he has been communicated to or not. I mean, not everybody.
No, you are talking about the youth. You're talking about the youth in the area who have gone on a rampage, and I'm saying that. Do you feel that the party, especially within the constituency, failed to communicate this to the young people, which is why they are up in arms? That's the question.
Well, I believe the party, the constituency executives are not part of NEC, and so they wouldn't be able to come out with the information unless they have been briefed.
Okay.
On as to what happened, because this is solely from NEC.
Right.
And NEC, this particular aspirant also appealed the decision of the regional executive vetting committee.
Okay.
So when he appealed it at the national level, and so now NEC will be in the best position to let us know what actually transpired. And so I'm not sure those at the constituency level could be able to give reasoning as to what happened. And the same thing also applies to me. I can't give reasoning as to why it happened to him.
Okay.
When I believe we are still going through the process. And there are some constituencies, I'm told they are still doing their election has been put on hold. And I believe from now up to maybe the time we have the election, definitely if there has to be a communication to any candidate or any aspirant who was qualified, the communication will follow.
Okay.
The list was only released today, and we don't also know the other process that national will.
Very well. Please hang on for me. Let me bring in Mr. Anthony Oseipoku, who is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Oseipoku, thank you for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome, my dear.
All right. So the party, the General Secretary of the party said some of the people who were contending have agreed to graciously step down. Are you one of those who have agreed to graciously step down to allow the incumbent to go?
Oh, I don't think I will be one of them. The reason being that at the betting stage, they asked me to step down. But see, I wasn't comfortable with that. The one I'm contesting with is a lady less than 30 years. So if you are saying that you are giving dispensation to all women MPs, including that of Kwabri, that means that for 40 or 50 years, she could be there, and there's no way it's going to take tirelessly for the party. Will be cut off.
So you mean that she has age on her side? Is that the point you're making?
Age. That's one point. The reason, and one other point is I would say, constituency will reward hardworking people who have for the party. And Kwabri has a home about 20 years, 25 years. So if you are saying today that it should go unopposed, then God knows when an avenue will be open to them. With me, I cannot say I'm going to remain in politics for that long. But what about those who have supported the party all this while? I will say, let me make this point. At the time she was contesting, with all the requirements of the party, with the greatest respect, she never qualified for one. She had never voted at the area. He has never contributed to the party's cause. She has never participated in social, political, and whatever events. But she found herself in. So if, for whatever means, he was able to get the seats, why do you now cut off some of us who contested her and she won? It's absurd. That's the point that I want to say. But
if you say that the person never participated in party functions over there, she won. The people voted for her. They wanted her to be representing them.
Yes, they did. So if he has come in, he has won against 4 able men. Why change the rules now? See, my problem is that the MPP has tried and survived all these years because of its democratic principles and elections. Even in opposition, 30 years in opposition also, they were still voting their ward members into office. So what has changed? And come to think that if a constituency, which is the backbone of the party, the Ashanti region, could get about 22 petitions coming on appeal, then there's something wrong. And the party has to look at it. And you see, I will fight to the end on principle, not for my own personal thing, but to tell the whole world and the party hierarchy that unopposed is not the principle of the party. You may have genuine reason for 1 or 2, but to have a mass unopposed for all women, I mean, it isn't right. You can have specific examples where the party can agree and allow them to go. But where you just, legislate, which is unconstitutional though, because it's not backed by Congress, it's not backed by any constitutional requirements that all women MPs should go on opposed. That's one, you are treading on dangerous grounds.
So I'll make this very brief. Some young people, some youth of the area have gone to the party offices, and I'm seeing that in the video right now, blocking it and raining curses, pouring libation. The General Secretary this afternoon is calling on the constituency executives to call them to order, to bring them to the disciplinary committee, have some disciplinary actions taken against them. What do you make of that?
Oh, you see, important. And happens to even the national executive members and the leadership. At times, something will happen. Not all of us are able to control our emotions. I have not spoken all this while to any press house until today, when the thing came out. Others may not have the patience to do that. And if they have gone this way and the party has rules, let them, and they think it's fair to send them to the disciplinary committee, that one is the party decision. But we say we don't have time on our side, and we want to get everybody on board, so we can prosecute the general elections.
Okay, it looks like I've lost him, but I'll try and raise him back and get his final words. Ms. Ote-Mensah, let me take your final words. The point that Ms. Osei-Poku makes is that, first of all, he thinks you have age on your side. Secondly, he thinks that you won in the previous election against 4 able-bodied men. What has changed now? You can easily deal with one person.
Yes, yes. I think let me touch on briefly. Let me touch on the issue that he raised as to my qualifications in the previous primary. I believe he's a lawyer. If he had issues with my qualifications at that time, he could have raised it. And how do you call it? You've been we were both in the race. Like you said, there were 4 strong men, and I was the only woman. We were in the race, and you think you had a genuine issue. You didn't raise it. I won the election. I went ahead to win the general election, and even getting the highest votes for the party. I believe he's rather making an unfortunate statement, especially at this point in time.
Okay, so let's move on to the substantive question about what has changed. As someone who has fought 4 women should not be getting that.
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
Obviously, the party has rules in every election that it comes out with. That is why before even the opening of nominations, the General Secretary came out with some guidelines that is going to support this particular primary. And the mere fact that you qualified previously does not guarantee that you are going to qualify the next one, because there are rules and procedures that the General Secretary, there are guidelines that the General Secretary has come out with. So you have to make sure, even me as an MP, even if I'm not able to conform to the guidelines that has been laid out by the General Secretary, I'm not sure the party will still go on and qualify me if I don't qualify. So the question I think we all should be asking is, what exactly went on? What was he told? What did he do that it wasn't right? Because it can't be that you think you did everything right and you were disqualified.
Do you think he was disqualified because he did something wrong? Or not because the party wants the incumbent MPs to go unopposed?
He can tell us better because he was at the vetting. He went for the appeal. He can tell us better what went on.
He said they told him to step down at his. They didn't tell him he's disqualified. They told him to step down at the vetting. That's what he said.
And he couldn't ask what the reason is. He's a lawyer. He should have asked. Because if you had the opportunity to meet with the big men in the party and you didn't ask this question, then it's difficult for me to answer.
Okay.
Because definitely there should be a reason. It can't be that you went through the due process and then you think you have age on your side. I have age on my side and you don't have age on your side.
Very well. 52% is what the young man that I spoke gave you for in terms of what they think you have done, your achievement in the constituency. What's the way forward? You have your elections that are coming up in just a few days, and you have this pot of hot water brewing in your constituency. What's the way forward? What's the next move for you?
Yes, definitely. I believe there's one side that Bismarck said that I think I will agree with him, that I thought I could have done more. But obviously, when we are first time in Parliament, you need time to adapt. You need time to get to know people, get to know the whole lobbying procedure and other things. Okay. And I believe with the experience I've been able to gain in this past years, being the Member of Parliament for Papi East constituency, I believe it will help me a lot in going forward in working harder to gain more votes, of course, for the party and also bring a lot of development within the constituency.
What's the one thing that you didn't do, which upon hindsight you think that you would do if you win this election?
Well, I think virtually almost everything that I thought of doing, I touched on it. But there's one aspect that I think there is still more to do. Will be our road network, is to lobby more and get more roads to be done. Because as a constituency, that is our major challenge. But even with that, myself and the leadership within the constituency, we've been able to secure about 6 of our roads that they are contracted on working, which is the first time in the history of the constituency where you get 6 of your major roads being worked on at a time. And I believe we could still do more, especially when just the constituency that gives the president the highest. I believe we could use that and still get more of our roads being fixed.
Ms. Otim-Mensah, I wish you all the best as you go forward. Francisca Oteng-Mensah is a member of parliament, incumbent member of parliament for Kwabre East. I still have a lawyer, Anthony Osei-Poku, who says he will fight this until the very last time, the very last opportunity. He's still here. Let me take your final words, Mr. Osei-Poku. She's indicated that you should have asked when you were asked to step down at the vetting. You should have asked why. Did they tell you why?
They say that's the funny aspect. The only reason was that the chairman and the leadership have said that all the women MPs and Chantiviji should go unopposed. And I pointed out to the General Secretary at the vetting that the only person that is guidelines excluded was the MP for Ayiwaso, I think West Wagon, who they said they will not allow anyone to contest. But not Chantiviji. What was done here was somebody's own wishful always thinking. You see, and the danger is that if you allow people to sit in their bedrooms without following the constitution and they begin to legislate, and that's the beginning of the end of the party. And that's the principle I think everybody who loves the party must fight against.
What is the way forward for you?
Not because I want to go to parliament by all means.
What is the way forward for you from here?
Well, the way forward for me is that we have 18 to 20. For the unprepared, I've worked tirelessly on the ground. I have contacted people, the delegates, and I think if I'm allowed in, they will vote for me. So I'm waiting to see the reason why they have so excluded me. I went on appeal, and the appeal people understood my position. They said I have not been disqualified, and they were going to make a case for me at the neck. I don't know why the neck came out finally to disqualify me.
And between the last time
to get the result, I'll write to them formally for the result.
And between the last time, hang on, between the last time you spoke to them and today that the list was outdoored, you have not heard from them. It doesn't tell you that you've been disqualified?
No, let me tell you, no one spoken to me, no one. And that is what is really based on my imagination. And if they told that you have spoken to me, that is not true. No one.
Okay.
But so then I wait here. I still love the party, and I want to wish well for the party.
All right. Mr. Osei-Poku, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and we'll be following up. I wish you all the best as well. We'll be following up to find out how the story gets to its logical conclusion. I'll be going again to Manson Kwanta, another part of the country where protests emerged over the NPP primaries. Now, just a few messages that's coming in here. This one says, in fact, the invocation of cases in the contemporary era is purely barbaric, and we're having such persons in our political dispensation, even burning offices. NPP, NDC are the biggest challenge and the heaviest problem of this country. As a youth in the constituency, this one says, I am not pleased with the decision of the leadership. They should know that our thumbs belong to us and that voting for the party is not mandatory. Competition is the bulwark of our party and its tradition since 1948. The youth are right to vent their spleen, but to invoke curses is below the belt. Yao Mensah Kasem sent that one. In Manson Kwanta, protests by supporters of a disqualified candidate there yielded positive results when a disqualification was overturned. Grace Ado spoke to Love FM's Nanaya Ojima.
The NEC decided to disqualify me after I've been qualified at the vetting level. And later on, we realized there was that agitation that there was an appeal, and because of that, I've been disqualified. My people have never been happy because they have been yearning for a change, even though I've been on the seat before. And that is where they compared my performance to the current MP, and they needed to bring me back. So I'm sure now that I've been cleared to go for the contest, they are going to vote for me massively. Look at the number of people who are here supporting me. They were just worried because they heard that I will not be qualified to contest.
So 4 years ago, Mr. Joseph Kwam beat you in the race. Yes. What do you think this time you will do different to bring you back into the seat?
You will say he beat me in the race. I will accept that because any loss in a race is a loss. There was that difference of 1 vote there was that difference of 1 vote. And you could realize that the election was just tied. And therefore, for him to do his work, he has to do extra work for people to accept him, because if you beat somebody with difference 1 vote, it tells you that in the next election, if the person bounces back, the contest is not going to be easy for you unless you do something different. It means my loss might be maybe caused by something fishy.
So this time you've done your homework and you believe you can win?
I've done my homework, and even I was at home when people came around, always calling on me to come back and take the seat. To come back and take the seat and deliver them from what they term to be very terrible for them. That even though I was in the opposition, I was doing better than what they are seeing now. Because Mason Kwanta constituency is known to be MPP stronghold. And therefore, if we are in opposition, we realize that the whole constituency is in opposition. And therefore, now that MPP is in power, they were expecting that their government is now in, and therefore something unique, differently should be happening over there. And that is what they are not seeing.
Congratulations to that woman. By all means, that decision has been overturned in her favor, so she's contesting. But we've been waiting to talk to a communications analyst to take a look at what it makes, the political communication analyst, what it makes of how the NPP General Secretary put his message today. But let's take a look at our getting up close with some of the NPP parliamentary candidates. We'll begin a series of investigations into the backgrounds and the vision of some of the candidates that are contesting in these primaries. And we'll ask the candidates to share their vision and convince you to vote for them, not only in the primaries, but in the national contest as well. Today, we start with Michael Quaye Jr. He's Ghana's ambassador to India. He's one of the candidates vying for the Dom Kwabena seat of the NPP. Now, you should know, or you may know, that he's challenging the deputy majority leader in Parliament, Sarah Adwoa-Safo. Michael Quaye Jr. is here right now. He's also the son of the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Quaye, by the way. Mr. Quaye, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Hello, and a good day to all your viewers and listeners.
How is Dom Kwabena doing?
Oh, Dom Kwabena is doing very well. There were some periods with a little bit of misunderstanding. I'm sure you understand how sometimes the followers can get agitated with some misunderstandings that went on. But I think generally at the top, I don't have any problem with anyone. I have very good rapport with the candidate who is the incumbent at the moment. And we just strive to let everybody understand that this is a very civilized internal contest. You put your hat in the ring to convince the delegates, and that is what it's all about. If they think that they would want to maintain the MP after 8 years of good work, they do that. If they think that they are not satisfied and want to change, they do that. But either way, the elephant is the winning symbol, and that is a message that we are getting to our supporters on the ground.
What exactly does Michael Quaye Jr. bring to the table that's different from what Adwoa-Safo is offering? For which reason you think that people will vote for you?
Well, I mean, that is something which is a bit difficult to go into detail at the moment to the public, because remember, obviously my sister is not here, and it may be a bit unfair to speak about certain things where she would not have the opportunity to answer. But I will just go with perception.
She will get her day. She will get her day. So go ahead and do it. She will get her day. So go ahead and do it.
Oh, no, I mean, maybe or maybe not. But at least at the moment, we don't want any acrimony of, for example, claiming certain things in the public. Because as I keep saying, this is really about the delegates. And so we just want to also talk about the MPP primaries in general terms. But the detail we will speak to the delegates about. But as I'm saying, in view of your audience, for them to just have a summation of some of the perceptions, some of the things that they want is, they feel that there isn't an amount of unity in the constituency. They also feel that the division is costing a lot of damage to the constituency. That is their perception. And so I am answering that angle by telling them that I would bring more unity. I would handle the executive split in this manner or that manner. I would make sure that the certain sentiments that they are complaining about in detail is not going to exist, because I will be a good listener and will use the party structures to deal with their problems in terms of positively, and also deal with the problems that they are facing personally. And these are some of the things that they've complained about. They feel as if some of the issues in the constituency are handled by others who are not supposed to be in charge of the constituency, but, for example, would have a personal relationship with this person or that person. So that has really come out as one of the issues, and I've promised them that these things will be done differently. Another matter too that is a big perception is the issue of welfare. I mean, most of them feel that in areas like, for example, scholarships, they've not been able to have enough of those. They've not heard about many of them, and they feel that after 8 years, to have the number of scholarship people, even among the delegates, is not good enough. And so they want somebody who would be able to handle matters that come into the constituency in a particular way. So that is something that I've promised them, especially to do with their welfare, and most importantly, the nurturing of the constituency. There's been a big complaint about the neglect of the party office, to the extent that the place has not been painted for the last 8 years. There's no air conditioning, the glass door was broken, and so on and so forth. And I have personally provided those things, painted the place, and also dealt with the glass door and so on and so forth, to bring it up to speed and to make it presentable, so that when we were going to hand in our vetting forms, most of the supporters were chuffed to see the development that was happening at that particular juncture. Even further, I've also promised to work on looking for land to build a suitable party structure, which is something which would be of permanent gain to the constituency as well. Most importantly, the constituency wants to see development in certain amenities. For example, we have a health center that needs to be updated or upgraded to the next level. There's a space for a story building. It's now just the ground floor. I've promised to make that a full-time maternity ward. Also the police station at Taifa, that, for example, we want to expand and to even make it bigger, because at the moment it's the district police headquarters, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are some detail that we will discuss with the delegates one-on-one, so that they would be able to make the necessary comparisons on the ground to determine if this is the new leader we want, or we want to maintain what we have. So generally, that is what we're doing. My sister is on the ground. She's talking to the delegates. I am also on the ground talking to the delegates. And we have vowed that we are going to make sure that Domi Kwabena is not heard of in any negative light.
Very well.
Anybody who is doing any negativity, then that is onto them. And either myself or my sister would have to take the blame for that action. But other than that, there's peace and quiet for now.
So with this engagement, we'd like to make it very brief, so that in very few words, you'll be able to convince your those who are expected to vote for you to do that. But I'd like to put in this question before I give you that opportunity to speak to the constituents. Now, you are contesting someone who has been in parliament, I mean, secured this seat at least twice for the party, someone who in the last election won with a 67.99% for the party. So she's done good for the party. She's held on to the seat for some time now. Someone who played a key role in the election 2012 and a key role as well in the party's decision to even contest that particular election. She seems to have a lot of accolades. Now, I just spoke to Kwabre East MP, who is, you know the issues concerning the election and disqualification there. She's been allowed to contest, or the party wants her to contest unopposed. Why is the party not doing same for this woman who has done all of these things that I have mentioned? And why do you think you are being allowed to contest her anyway?
Oh, I don't know about being allowed. I mean, I am also a very senior member of the party, first of all. Most of the things that you have said, for example, when you talked about the 2012 election matter, this is something where the delegates themselves, they know who was there at 4 in the morning dealing with these matters so that they were exposed. And they know those who came at 6 a.m. Of course, they are the representatives and so on and so forth to speak to the media. These are details that we wouldn't talk about in the media because
hang on. So if I just want to understand, hang on, I just want to understand the point you just made, that you
the point at the moment, I just want to leave it as a parable because, as I said,
okay, I don't understand parables, unfortunately.
Into certain details.
I have a hard time understanding parables. So if you can just break it down for me. So you were there at 4 a.m. and she was there at 6 a.m. So essentially, you did most of the work.
I didn't say that. I said some people. And it could be
who are
many
these
others.
Some people?
I'm not talking
Does
about
it
one
include
person. All I'm saying is, it is not about that. It is about the fact that I am saying certain things or claiming certain things which only the delegates can bear witness and testimony to. You outside, you won't be able to do that because as a media person, when you come to the constituency, you have to speak to the constituency head. And when we do any work to support the constituency, we do it to support the candidate. But when there's a claim as to the nitty-gritty that makes you a better politician, then we explain to them how that came about and how the work was done. Now, looking at
but you don't want to explain to me and your viewer and the viewers who are watching.
Yeah, let me just make this point. Now, talking about being allowed, no, I've not been allowed to contest. I'm somebody who is a very senior member in the party. Even more senior, if I dare say, than my sister in the party as well. Now, if she has been there for 2 terms, that is fantastic. But we all recall that she was allowed even to contest one of the party founders after his first term. So if she's a deputy leader and people like leader Edu was contested by Natoshi and he lost, I don't see any rule in the party that says if you're a leader and more so you're going for your 2nd term, no one can contest you. As I said rightly, you have gone twice already. This is your 3rd term. So if we are looking at what is going on, it's very simple. We are asking the delegates who voted for you in the first place to come to decide, do they want to maintain you? If they do, there's no problem. Because I remember contesting 8 years ago, and when I lost, I put my sister's picture on my gate, because the elephant is the winning symbol. And I voted for her twice and campaigned for her twice. It's no problem internally. Now, if by the grace of God, I also win and she loses, I know she'll accept it in good faith and also put my picture on her gate. I mean, there's no problem at all internally. So there's nothing about allowing or disallowing as compared to somewhere else. Every situation is unique. And in my situation, I was very much fit and ready to contest, so the delegates will decide.
Very well. I wish that we had enough time to engage this, but unfortunately we don't. I'll give you say 30 seconds to convince your constituents why they should choose you over their current MP.
Yes, delegates, I know a lot of you have made certain claims that you feel neglected for the last 3 years. I know how you feel, and I know what you're talking about. I want to assure you that if you gave me the opportunity to become the parliamentary candidate and subsequently the MP for the constituency, all those matters that you've complained to me about internally that are issues in the campaign will be addressed and non-existent in the future. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mr. Quaid Jr., thank you so much for your time. And you're joining us from India, correct?
No. I'm joining you from Ghana. I'm in Ghana at the moment, yes.
Okay, you're working on the ground.
Ready and able. I'm actually on leave at the moment. I took a long leave so that I would have the opportunity to be able to campaign for the seat. Right. Every ambassador has something which we call home leave. And I haven't been on leave virtually for the last 2.5 to 3 years. Okay. So I've accumulated quite a bit. Of course, at the moment, just as it's over, I'm waiting for the borders in Ghana and India to open, and then I can resume whilst my deputy is in full charge of the mission. I
wish you all the very best in the upcoming elections. Michael Quay Jr.
Thank you very much.
Right. Michael Quay Jr. is contesting in the primaries for Dom constituency, Dom Kwabenya constituency. He's contending with the current deputy majority leader. Before we go away from the politics, the opposition NDC is fighting off claims by President Akufo-Addo that infrastructure projects captured in the Green Book are fantasies. Former Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwatshefo accused the president of failing to pay attention to details, questioned why governments would release $2.2 billion to pay debt-owed road contractors, in spite of the claim that the road project only existed in a Green Book. President Akufo-Addo, whilst opening phase 1 of the $57 million Tema motorway interchange, indicated that the so-called unprecedented infrastructure development of the Mahama administration that has been touted was fantasy existing in the Green Book.
The facts, as they relate to each of the president's claims, are as follows. The Green Book, officially titled Accounting to the People, is arguably the most famous book that chronicles the achievements of the Ghanaian government. Its contents have been widely publicized and are very well known to the generality of the Ghanaian people. Many will therefore be surprised at the effort put in by President Akufo-Addo to convince himself otherwise. Having actively participated in the compilation of the book, which highlights the boldest and biggest capital investment in the history of Ghana, in the history of the Fourth Republic, I beg your pardon, I can state with absolute certainty that the president's claim that it contains fantasy projects that cannot be found on the ground is an outright untruth. I must at this stage point out that the team that put the book together has such membership as former presidential advisor, Dr. Valerie Soya, former Deputy Chief of Staff, Johnny Osei-Kofi, and former presidential staffers, James Adjani Mboating and Dr. Pesa White. Indeed, Mr. Francis Nsia gracefully designed the book. So what you see as a final product is actually the handiwork of Mr. Francis Nsia, a brilliant graphic designer. In view, well, I understand Mr. Nsia is here, so perhaps he could acknowledge the commendation. In view of the abundance of evidence over the accuracy of the contents of the Green Book, there are only two possible explanations for the consistent falsehood of the president on the matter. It is possible that despite having heard about it, President Akufo-Addo has never cited a copy of the book and has thus not had the opportunity to peruse it, in which case he would have been compelled to rely on the same pedestrian propaganda of low-level MPP communicators. This would not be a far-fetched theory, in view of the several times he has displayed a total lack of attention to detail and faced embarrassment when multiple plagiarized speeches have been thrust before him to read. We all recollect how the same cavalier approach to governance and his lack of attention to detail led to his approval of the most inflated contract in the history of Ghana, the American Innovation Deal, only for it to be withdrawn and for us to be told by sources with knowledge of the matter that he had been misled into granting executive approval for sale. It is also entirely possible that he is fully apprised of the contents of the Green Book, but has chosen the path of falsehood, insofar as it enables him to mislead fanatical supporters of the MPP or unsuspecting members of the Ghanaian public, and in the process hide his dubious reputation as the least performing of all Ghanaian leaders, at least in the area of infrastructure and capital investments. Either way, this would be most unbecoming of an occupant of the high office of president. That office is associated with certain basic requirements, which include candor, thoroughness, and truthfulness. The president of a country must speak in ways that leave no room for doubt or the potential for him to be ridiculed or derided. For the avoidance of doubt, there is not a single project in the Green Book which does not exist on the ground today or for which clear context has not been provided regarding its status.
Phyllis Kwachifosu, the former Deputy Information Minister in the NDC administration. Well, this has been election headquarters. Welcome to Frontline, my favorite part of the show. In this show, or on this part of the show, we talk to you about people at the front lines working out the COVID-19 for us. Today, I talk to you about Dr. Abba Lawson. She's an anesthetist at the critical care unit of the UGMC, that's University of Ghana Medical Center. She takes care of people who are critically ill with COVID-19. And she's explaining how doffing or removing the PPEs is the most vulnerable period where most healthcare workers get infected with COVID-19. Well, in spite of all of these and the fact that other health workers have contracted the disease, she is determined to keep fighting on the front line, as she has some advice for the general public.
For critical care, critically ill patients, also provide anesthesia for varying procedures. I think I've spent, 5 or so hours in that. Coming to remove your PPE or DOF, you are fully contaminated, and so you have to carefully, meticulously take them off in a fashion that gives you the lowest risk of infecting yourself. That's also why we always have a second person watching you, keeping an eye on you, just to make sure that even though we've been trained, you constantly need someone to keep an eye on you so that when you are taking your things off, you don't contaminate yourself. There's a sequence, there's a procedure, there's a protocol, and for each time you put them on and put them off, you have to follow the protocol to keep yourself safe. There are certain aspects of the undressing that you need to see yourself so you can go straight for what you want to touch and not go and touch other things, because there are different levels and grades of contamination as you have donned the PPE. The most frightening aspect, in my opinion, is when I come to take everything off.
Now that's a photo documentary put together by Samuel Moore. Very touching one. Tomorrow we'll bring you another one from that same place. But let me tell you about a mother that's battling COVID-19 at the intensive care unit at the Elwak Isolation and Treatment Center. She's opened up to JoyNews about her story. The middle-aged woman, whom we choose to call Amasewa, is now on a ventilator. But she says she hopes to recover quickly so she can be with her daughter again. JoyNews' Beryl Ernestina Richter was granted exclusive access to the ICU and has filed this report. The Elwak Level 2 Isolation and Treatment Center started operating in April 2020. The facility has over the past months hosted over 60 patients and discharged a good number of them. Intensive care units form a critical component of the management and care of severely ill patients at any COVID-19 facility. Since the outbreak of the disease in Ghana, there have been concerns by various healthcare stakeholders about the capacity of the various COVID-19 isolation and treatment centers to manage severely ill and critical patients due to the inadequate number of ventilators the country has. Major Matthias Yeli Ahig is Deputy Commandant at the Elwak COVID Center. He tells me the facility is well equipped to handle such cases.
This is where we keep patients who are having or who are in a critical condition. We give them extra care. And if there's a need for us to put them on ventilators or any other sensitive equipment, this is where we give that extra care. And the good news is that the place has not been full to capacity since we started operating. That's the good news for us. And we pray and hope that we'll continue to have patients that will not have a condition to the point that we have to bring them into the ICU.
Since the outbreak of the disease, 19 persons with COVID-19 who also have various underlying health conditions have died at some of the treatment centers in Accra, according to official figures. But here at the center, Major Matthias Yeliahik says since its establishment, the center has recorded no death.
It's one of the enviable records that we have achieved since we established or opened the center. We've not lost a patient, and we continue to pray that that will never happen. This is due to the hard work, dedicated service, and above all, the blessings of the Almighty God that is making us to get some of these successes. And we pray that we never have any such case. That is our prayer.
On our tour of the facility, the JoyNews team is granted access to interview the only patient at the ICU whom we are told is on a ventilator. This middle-aged woman, whom I choose to call Amasewa, is hypertensive. She manages to open up to us on events, which led to her admission here.
It wasn't easy, but I took it as it is. I gave everything to God. Sometimes you cough with stains of blood. That was, I was having BP, so I thought it was just BP. So when I came to
unfortunately, that story has to be truncated at that point. We'll bring you the fuller version in our later bulletins. But it's not all doom and gloom. Matilda Agamu, a pregnant, recovered COVID-19 patient who was stigmatized by members of the community at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, has now given birth to a healthy baby girl. Matilda was the first coronavirus patient in the Upper East region. And despite having been treated, declared, recovered and discharged, she was stigmatized together with her husband, and who also later tested positive for the virus. Matilda was unable to reopen her shop for business, and her 8-year-old daughter was stoned by other children in the community. Now, 2 weeks after delivering her baby, Matilda tells JoyNews correspondent Albert Sorry things have generally turned around for her family. It's a good news on the back of COVID-19. Albert Sorry reports.
1 month ago, when JoyNews first visited Matilda Agamu, she was traumatized and dejected, having gone through the painful ordeal of being stigmatized by people she once knew as friends and relatives. At the time, she was expecting her baby any moment, but she was also without any money to prepare for the baby's arrival. This was because Matilda had spent almost a month at the COVID-19 treatment center, and just as she was about to be discharged, her husband was also admitted, having contracted the coronavirus as well. Although she had now recovered from COVID-19 and discharged, Matilda was left almost alone and unable to trade as a result of the verbal abuse from some of her colleague traders. But today, 2 weeks after Matilda delivered her baby, she and her family are happier.
Ever since Mr. Albert Sorry came to my house for the video shooting, things started turning around for our good and for the good name of JoyNews. Later on, Mr. Kojo Yankson also came with Honorable Isaac Adongo. And when they came, Mr. Isaac Adongo brought his donation, and he brought items like rice, cooking oil, milk, and then a sum of 10 million. That's 1,000 Ghana cedis.
Matilda adds, since JoyNews first reported about her plight, she has received donations in cash and kind from many well-meaning individuals, groups, and organizations.
Those who did their follow-up to, that is the NCCE. Later, Youth Harvest Foundation also came. They also came with baby diapers, laundry soap. In fact, I can't finish mentioning all their items, including a sum of money that is 400 Ghana cedis. And later, Sister Judith and her friends also brought their donations, baby diapers, my daughter's welcome dress,
milk, Milo, and a sum of 500 Ghana cedis. Actually, what the people gave me, I can say it can, I don't even know the day it will finish or the year it will finish. And then the money too, the total amount I had is 9,900 Ghana cedis.
On the day of our recent visit, Teraburi Yele, a group concerned with the promotion of the culture and tradition of the Upper East region, had also come to present a donation to Matilda and her newborn baby.
We first heard about Matilda's story on Albert Sori's timeline. That's the JoyNews correspondent in Upper East here. And in fact, most of our members were so devastated.
Albert Sorry for that report. Very heartwarming one, and we welcome that baby to the world. We pray that it will be a good one for him. Now, the Deputy Minister for Defense, Major Retired Derek Odro, says contact tracing and mass testing for the virus have ensured that gradually Ghana is making progress in the fight against the coronavirus. Speaking during the launch of the Ghana Armed Forces Zoom Lion disinfection of all military barracks, schools, churches, mosques and other facilities, he stated that the exercise alone cannot help, but has become necessary to help stop the spread of the virus.
Subsidy of water and electricity bills, financial relief to SMEs, tax exemptions for health workers, provision of adequate PPEs for health institutions, provision of additional facilities for testing for the virus, fumigation of schools, cleaning and disinfection of markets, and the clearing of filth from drainages, among others. These measures and the rapid implementation of contact tracing and mass testing for the virus have ensured that gradually our country is achieving positive results in the fight against the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, and which has been internationally acclaimed and commended widely. The personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces, together with other sister security agencies, have continued to partner the Ghana Health Services in the front line to fight against this pandemic, and in so doing, are faced with the danger of contracting the disease. Your exceptional vigilance and diligence in ensuring that the protocols and restrictions outlined by the President were obeyed, even at the danger of your own lives, is commendable. I must, however, caution that the exercise alone cannot be the panacea to the spread of the virus if we do not play our part to stop it. I'm happy to note the Armed Forces has put in place teams to ensure strict compliance of these protocols outlined by the President against COVID-19.
Deputy Defense Minister, for her part, Chief Operations Officer of Zoomlion, Florence Labi, has been explaining how the disinfections, which is chlorine-based, is able to kill the virus when it comes into contact with it.
Drawing from our several years of experience in environmental management, we are here today to launch the nationwide disinfection of military installations, including schools, barracks, and offices. This exercise is aimed at disinfecting to rid all the facilities of bacteria and other disease-causing vectors. During our disinfection exercises, we use disinfectants that are chlorine-based, containing sodium hypochlorite. This is effective within 10 to 60 minutes of contact time and is widely available and recommended by the World Health Organization for surface disinfection as part of infection prevention. Chlorine-based solutions are safe and used for water treatment, for example, in swimming pools. This chlorine-based disinfectant is most effective in killing bacteria, fungi, and viruses, including influenza virus. The proposed solution has also been endorsed by our technical consultants from the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research at the University of Ghana, Legon, as most effective to inactivate or destroy microorganisms on inert surfaces.
Now let me introduce you to Arba Kumsin's work. Media managers and experts are advocating for the industry to be prioritized in the stimulus package announced by government for businesses adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Many businesses have been hard hit, and media organizations which have not been left out have had to resort to cost-cutting measures, including laying off of staff. JoyNews' editor, Arba Kumsin, has been speaking to some in the industry who are facing a cash crunch and are making a strong case for the media to be supported. Here are excerpts of our latest JoyNews documentary, a hotline documentary titled "The Media, a Virus and Survival."
COVID-19, the deadly virus which has spread to every continent on the globe.
What's it like to actually have the coronavirus and undergo treatment for it?
Just 63 days. That's how long it's taken 17,704 people across the African continent to get infected with coronavirus.
The lives of thousands have been snuffed out as the ripples of an unprecedented pandemic, the COVID-19, the scale of which has never been witnessed before, reverberated across the globe, bringing robust economies to their knees and putting almost every sector, including the media, in distress. Now more than ever, the need for information has become pronounced. But how will Ghana's news media navigate these uncharted waters to live up to their mandate as they reel under the impact of this pandemic? The harsh impact of the coronavirus pandemic has been felt across board, and nowhere is it more felt than in the newspaper industry, which has already been struggling. With the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, their woes have worsened. I'm here today to speak to Managing Editor of the Daily Dispatch, Ben Efson, on how the pandemic has affected their business and how they are adopting innovative ways to stay alive.
The Dispatch has been around for about 22 years. And COVID was the first time that for 1 month the paper was off the stands because the vendors were just not, people were not going to work because the vendors sell by the roadside. So for 1 month, there was no newspaper on the stand.
Because of the lockdown?
There was a lockdown.
Executive editor of the Daily Guide newspaper, Fortune Alimi, has lived this experience too. As a manager of one of the country's popular newspapers, he has had to take some tough decisions after patronage of their paper dropped significantly following the announcement of the lockdown.
We took the decision not to come out at all. But after coming out, we need to also take a lot of measures in order to stay afloat. As I said, we need to cut costs, we need to cut down even on production, we need to cut down on the hours of production so that we save production costs, electricity, transportation, fueling. We need to cut down on a lot of these things.
Let's talk about the impact it's had on the business. You mentioned that people were not patronizing the newspapers, especially during the lockdown. Why is that?
Why is that? Because people were not out. Two, the vendors were not even there. Even if they were there, they were not ready to also sacrifice their lives because they are also dealing with the public, the handling of money. You realize that one of the means of transmitting transmission of this disease is handling of money. You see hearing traders also contracting the disease. Where did they get it from? Through money.
That super documentary is airing at 8:30 p.m. tonight right here on the JoyNews channel. You want to make your dates, so you join in Araba Kumsin's documentary. Now, a drive-through across shows many people are without nose masks. Ghana's COVID-19 cases have surpassed 9,000, and there are concerns that many are beginning to show little or no interest in observing the protocols outlined by the Ghana Health Service to halt the spread. Nancy Emefatra-Dosi has been engaging some Ghanaians who have refused to wear nose masks, insisting they are tired of it. Others still believe COVID-19 is not real.
It's been barely 3 months since Ghana recorded its first 2 cases of COVID-19, and already our figures are hitting nearly 10,000. Many have questioned why our figures are rising astronomically when we are constantly being reminded to observe the COVID-19 protocols.
As we drove through town, the news team observed that out of every 3 persons that walked by, at least 1 was without a face mask. The worst culprits are the commercial vehicles. The news team stationed at the Paloma bus stop first, and largely, conductors were without mask. Those that wore the mask had them right under their chin. I managed to stop this commercial vehicle after realizing both the driver and conductor were without them.
I have just met a commercial driver, and I want to find out from him why he's not wearing his nose mask, even though I see him holding one. He's not wearing it behind the steering wheel. I don't know, nose mask don't share.
Oh, my share, but I see Madame Huyana, me too.
I didn't see.
Because now, I went to me passe a Mukakla, a Riano, a boss.
I saw these sofa passengers in the Sanka.
No, passing Biantim, Intinam, passengers woman, I'm a share. Now, I'm a year to mutual you turn and me too.
Now we meet this soon, Shebi.
Or Shebi here, this one.
Let me go close to the bus conductor and ask him why he just realized that he's not wearing, he has a nose mask. I don't know if he's a
once me pie sana, a shamano sana, mean to me in pie, or be anti me, can't tell at times I me yet to. Oh, now, some for say me pie ready, I'm a shit. Let me Jim Ski ready, I'm a shit. But Shamano say then I'm a pie, I'm eat to.
What's the name of being an own nose mask?
I'm so be a ticket and a muntia.
It's in Pamchosamo, Remo, do you allow your members to wear the nose masks?
You remember Pepper Nasi, I say. The move at about 4 passengers, I say.
That's all, passengers no room without nose mask, I open it so.
No, you catch from Obiwa, a son, where Yakita, Oya, and wash it. But down you will sooner. Or by force market.
Yeah, do I suppose I wash your nose mask into your education, am I?
Many people who were also on their bikes did not have mask on. Even when we stopped him, he refused to wear his mask, which he had hung on his bike. His reason is simple.
Yes, you are protected right now. And the purpose of the nose mask is for me, maybe not to transfer in case I'm even infected or not to contract. But since you are wearing, you are protecting myself and yourself. So when I'm entering a crowd, I just put on my nose mask.
As we moved closer to circle, the number of people we met without mask was increasing. This man, Mohammed, is among the many that believes the virus is a myth until he sees it.
Mommy, come, let's stop deceiving each other. Let's just be realistic. At least out of the 1,000 or 10,000 people that Nigeria has, why can't we identify one single one as a friend? That's it. And every day they tell us the number keep increasing. Then they'll say they detect 20, 80. Why can't they show us a single person that has it? If you have fever now, they'll say you have corona. No, mistakenly you first see they say it's corona. People are dying of hunger and they'll say it's corona. Let's just be realistic. Let's say the truth. Let me tell you the truth. I don't believe there's COVID-19 here. Because actually, most patients, they show us that the numbers they keep telling us that we have COVID-19, both in Nigeria and here in Ghana. None of my friends or my family could ever testify that, oh, this one person is a friend that has COVID-19. I've not seen it being real.
So until you see it, before you believe?
Yes. We Africans will believe in seeing before we believe. Those there in Europe, we saw them, we saw their patients. Why can't Africa not show us a single patient of us?
But some of the TV stations have shown some patients who have COVID-19, or you still don't believe it?
Mommy, come on, let's stop deceiving each other. Let's just be realistic. At least, out of the 1,000 or 10,000 people that Nigeria has, why can't we identify one single one as a friend? That's it.
COVID-19 is real. More than 40 people have died. You want to take care of yourself and you want to stay away from it. Well, that's it. Nancy Emefadradosi with our final report. But just to let you know, 30,000 Ghana cedis has been raised for Agnes Dogbe, the 43-year-old breast cancer patient who was facing eviction from her home. Daniel Dazi has that report. We'll bring it to you in our subsequent bulletins. For now, log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. And our top story is there as well. Scroll all the way down. You get to see our YouTube link. Follow us from there as well. My name is Gifty Andor Pierre. It's always a pleasure coming your way.